if a giant asteroid was hurtling towards the Earth, and the only way to stop it and save all mankind was for Kip James to wrestle a good match or draw $1 for TNA, humanity would be doomed. I'm Full Killer 99, and I approve this message. Alright, two things. Number one, please don't ask me for my thoughts on Cyber Sunday. If you guys think I'm going to waste my time by acknowledging that joke of a pay-per-view, you're nuts. That quote you just read pretty much summed up my thoughts on Cyber Sunday perfectly. Number two, that's right, the shades are still here. Apparently, seeing Kip James in HD without something to protect my eyeballs causes them to bleed uncontrollably, which means, like them or not, the shades are going to be sticking around for a while. And it's a good thing, too. Because you know what's just as scary, if not scarier, than Kip James in HD? Scott Steiner in HD. Wow. You know, as happy as I am that TNA has joined the 21st century, I'm starting to realize that this high-definition thing is both a blessing and a curse. Fortunately, the blessings far outweigh the curses. This was our first look at the impact zone in high definition, and the HD conversion really does make a world of difference in the aesthetic of the show. I really like the new stage, too. They didn't have all that stuff at the Las Vegas show last week. I was a little disappointed that the colored lights in the crowd are gone, but the HD conversion sort of compensates for that to a point. And they still have the dual tunnels for the faces and heels, which I like, but now they all come down the same ramp, which means they now have more space so they can fit more fans in there. And the bigger the crowds you can cram into that building, the better. I mean, because when the crowd is bigger, the show looks bigger. It's always a good thing. Speaking of the show, this was one of the best impacts in weeks. I love the opening segment with Joe and AJ calling out the rest of the locker room, getting more of the roster involved. It just shows how the sphere of influence of this angle is getting bigger and bigger, which makes it feel more important. And the seriousness definitely helps with that, too. I mean, even Eric Young had his game face on this week. And if Eric Young, of all people, is getting serious, that should really say something about where this is all headed. Anyway, things got really interesting when the Motor City Machine Guns came out, and holy crap, man, I can't remember the last time those guys got so much screen time on an Impact show. I mean, they were on screen in 5 different segments. And I'm not totally sure where the writers are going with them yet, but I like it. I mean, obviously, they don't want to support the veterans, but they were kind of reluctant to throw their lot in with Joe, too, though they seem to change their minds about that later. I mean, this does kind of play into their characters, how they've been flipping lots of people off lately, disrespecting everybody, but then they act like total babyfaces, saving Eric Young, and then, you know, having a match against 2 guys supported by Sheik Abdul-Bashir. But if they're babyfaces, then why do that stuff with Joe at the beginning? You know what I mean? I mean, it's weird, but it's interesting. If I had to guess, I'd say that maybe they're going to become tweeners and not really support either side. And they are partnering with Christian Cage in a 6-man tag next week, so that wouldn't surprise me at all. And I have to say that it's just so awesome that TNA is finally doing something with Sabin and Shelley after months of them being on the sidelines. They've now won 2 matches in a row, and they're getting a tag team title shot at Turning Point. Finally, my world makes sense again. And I think I do think it's a real testament to their popularity that they're still over with the crowds after being treated like jobbers for months. I mean, the audience couldn't have cared less for Tanahashi and Volador, but they came alive when the guns were on the offense. So maybe TNA's waking up and they're finally going to start pushing these guys. You know, it makes sense since Beer Money are coming off of two big matches where they beat almost every other tag team in the company. So that only leaves 2 others, and no offense to the Rock and Rave Infection, but I don't think there's too many people chomping at the bit to see that match. Now, as for the show itself, one of the things that made this show good was that they did a much better job with the effective time management issue this week. And this goes back to what I said in the last video. Now, ordinarily, this is a constant problem with the show. Certain things get more time than they should, other things don't get enough time, and then there are things that really don't need to be on the show at all. But this was the first show in a while where that wasn't really an issue. Almost everything got the right amount of time. The matches were longer, every segment had a purpose, and the pacing was fast without feeling rushed. And I think a lot of people underestimate what a huge difference those factors can make when you pull them off properly. Of course, the big news of the show was the return of Scott Steiner, and I'll be honest, I wasn't exactly on pins and needles waiting for Big Papa Pump to return from his injury, and I don't think a lot of people were. But I think it came off pretty well, all things considered. The only thing that I wish they'd done differently was making a bigger deal out of Steiner hitting Petey Williams with the lead pipe at the end. They should have had Steiner take out everybody else, leaving just him and Petey in the ring, with Petey not sure how to react to him. And then Steiner smiles at him, Petey smiles back thinking everything is cool, and then Steiner nails him with the pipe too. They didn't have to make a huge thing of it, but the way this played out just completely ignored the fact that these guys were aligned with each other a few months ago, and that just felt wrong to me. And something else that I'm kind of wondering about right now, this Christy Hemme push. I had to agree with Angelina when she cut a promo and she asked, when the hell did Christy suddenly become a wrestler, seriously, there's a reason why Christy sticks to managing most of the time. And she has been relatively competent in the ring these last 2 weeks, but not much more than that. Now, I heard that with Gail Kim gone, TNA were thinking of pushing Christy Hemme as the face of the Knockouts division. And in terms of promotion, I can understand that, since Christy does look really good on a poster, and she is on the cover of the Knocked Out DVD right now. But as a wrestler, I'm sorry, I really don't see that working out. And if TNA has reached this point now where they're starting to push the, shall we say, lesser talented knockouts, then I think it's time they hired another woman or two. Because in the last few months, they've lost Gail Kim, Salinas, and Karen Angle. And I'm not shedding any tears over Karen Angle being gone, believe me. But she was one of the most heavily pushed women in the company last year, and her being gone leaves a hole that they can fill with somebody. So I think it's definitely time to start padding the division and get some new faces in there. And if TNA is looking to sign some new women, and since they don't seem to want to unmask Melissa for reasons I don't understand, then I have 4 strong words for them. Dark, Angel, Sarah, Stock. I don't care if she's got a broken arm right now, okay? The second she's healthy, jump through whatever hoops that CMLL wants you to jump through and sign her to a contract. Just something to think about, TNA. But if the stuff with Petey Williams and Christy Hemme is, the only stuff that I can really complain about, it means this was a very good show. Joe and AJ versus Nash and Booker got good time, unlike the main event last week. Kurt Angle and Abyss had a solid match, and some people probably hated the finish, but I actually liked it because it showed that Kurt Angle didn't think he could beat Abyss clean. And they're going to have another match at the pay-per-view in a couple weeks anyway, so this probably made sense to not give this one a clean finish. Also, they announced a bunch of matches for Turning Point. We're probably going to see Taylor and Roxy versus Kong and Saeed in a hardcore match on the card, too. See, I told you that feud wasn't over yet. Anyway, very good impact this week. The Veterans Young Guys feud is really picking up steam now. I'm excited to see what happens next, and it feels really good to be able to say that about at least one company. Anyway, that's all for now. So stay tuned, and I'll talk to you soon.